Hello, American federal government students. Yeah, it's like 17 degrees today, really cold, and I'm just getting caught up on some work. So I wanted to actually, rather than share a sample answer on the last assignment, I wanted to discuss some things because I have a lot of things to discuss. I also want to apologize because I've not updated the introductory videos this year, so you're getting a lot of dated information from last year. I think it's still useful, but I haven't filmed them since the election. And so there's some obvious things that's like, oh, well, that's old news. But bear with it because it's still beneficial in how it introduces the chapter. I just graded all the papers related to two things. Number one, the United States of Conspiracy video, Alex Jones. And then number two, the plot to overthrow the election. And I wanted to address some things about that. First of all, let's talk about Alex Jones and conspiracy theories. By and large, conspiracy theories, folks, are bad. I can't stress that enough. What that lesson demonstrated is how, especially alternative media sites like InfoWars, often confuse people because they dive into these conspiracy theories and they don't know what to believe. And then people, and I saw this in a lot of your answers. A lot of your answers were like, well, they're just all liars and you never know what to believe. And somebody said, and I didn't know that the government was behind 9/11. And I'm like, no, that was Al-Qaeda, you know? And what happens is in other countries, and to some extent in this country too, politicians and dictators thrive on confusion. They thrive on what we call false equivalency. So false equivalency is, well, they said this and this side said this, and you know, they're both just, it's their opinion. So I want to stress there is still fact in this world, you know, and the things that Alex Jones is peddling was in no way fact, and in fact, of course, it was dangerous. And so harmful as well. And ultimately, that same thing leads to January 6th. So that's related to the next assignment, which was the plot to overthrow the election. Because, of course, in 2024, Trump was legitimately elected to a second term, non-consecutive second term, just as he was legitimately elected in 2016. And yet in 2020, he says that it was stolen, which is false. That is not true. And he delved into these conspiracy theories, which he has done his whole life. I mean, he came to power in part by promoting the birther conspiracy that Barack Obama wasn't born in this country and so forth. And ultimately, what happened on January 6, 2021 was dangerous to our democracy. And I've tried to stress that again and again. So regardless, I want to stress that I'm not ever going to grade down a student because they are a fan of President Trump or they agree with his policies. But I want to stress there are facts. And the fact is that the 2020 election wasn't stolen. And the fact is that Trump incited an insurrection. And if he had not been reelected, he almost certainly would have been found guilty of those charges because the evidence was overwhelming. Another student didn't know that he was a convicted felon. And yeah, he is. I'm still kind of shocked that most people don't know this. So a jury had convicted him of paying hush money to a porn star in 2016, right before the election, because he didn't want people to know about that, because it would have probably cost him the election. And then that was $100,000, and he didn't report it as a campaign contribution, which is a violation of campaign laws, which is, you know, anybody that's running for president knows this, and he was convicted under a number of those statutes. So yeah, he is a convicted felon, and that doesn't go away. Those were New York State charges, so he can't pardon himself for state laws. There's question as to whether a president could pardon themselves anyways, although with recent Supreme Court rulings, he probably could. There's a lot more to that issue because the Supreme Court also recently ruled that a president cannot be held criminally responsible for actions they did as president. But those convictions were things that he did when he was running for president, not as president. So it gets complicated as far as that's concerned. But what also is most shocking at the time we're in is, as he promised, and Trump did promise this, he said that when he got elected, he would pardon the January 6th political prisoners. You call it the political prisoners. Okay, as you saw from the video, they are not political prisoners. As you saw from the video, these people assaulted police officers terribly. And he pardoned every single one of them, over 1,000. They were convicted of assaulting police officers, and he pardoned them. And I don't think we should forget that. I think that's really important, because what Trump is saying, hey, if you assault police officers, if you attack government officials and others on behalf of me, then it's okay. And that's like, I hate overdoing Hitler analogies, but it's like brown shirts in Nazi Germany. That's how Hitler would use them. And so something certainly to be aware of. Talk about misinformation. Some of you shared samples of misinformation that are shared over the internet that people believed. One of the best ones that I came across that I'd kind of forgotten about because there's so much misinformation out there is the assertion, which actually began with the vice president, J.D. Vance, when he was running for vice president. He said that people in Springfield, Ohio, Haitian immigrants were eating dogs and pets. And then Trump reasserted this in the debate, and it is not true. And it too is very, very dangerous. So I teach a lot on the Holocaust, a lot of lessons on the Holocaust, and it is really, really important to set these things straight, because the first step toward attacking a specific group of people is by dehumanizing them. And Trump has a long history of dehumanizing people. So, and first and foremost, he says that the Mexicans are criminals and rapists, that they are going to pollute the blood of Americans. I mean, pollute the blood? That's Aryan stuff, folks. Is there a pure American blood? Because I didn't know that there was. I thought that we were many different ethnicities. I didn't know there was one pure American blood. But that dehumanizes people. And then when you say that Haitian immigrants are eating people's dogs and their pets, what you're doing is saying that they're like animals. And this is a dehumanization, because who eats people's pets? Wolves, and that's why it was so bad. And what I hate about it is that when they're obviously caught into something that's not true, they double down. That's their strategy. And it's really effective, to be honest with you. So J.D. Vance just continued to assert that. Trump continued. He said, yeah, it's true, even though it had, by every prominent news organization, been completely refuted. The mayor of Springfield, Ohio, said it's not true. And it results in people actually going after these Haitian immigrants. And that's really sad too. So we just need to be careful about the information that we're getting, and make sure that you're following reliable sources, which most often is not going to be from social media. PBS and NPR are very credible sources. The Associated Press is a very credible source. Recently, Trump refused to allow AP access to the White House news briefings and Air Force One because they made the editorial decision to not call it the Gulf of America, but to continue calling it the Gulf of Mexico. And that's pretty scary when an administration is like, no, unless you report the news our way, then we are not going to allow you access. Because there is something called the First Amendment and freedom of the press, which is sacrosanct in American history. So there's just a lot to all of this, and it's just really important that you you get your news from credible sources and not delve down into these conspiracy theories, because it often leads to things like Alex Jones, or leads to like January 6th. And I also had a lot more to talk about as well, but I'm going to save it for another video because it's a whole nother subject, and that has to do with the Trump administration reaching out to Putin and Russia over the war in Ukraine, because this is a huge turn of events in the United States foreign policy, going back to World War II and the formation of NATO, which was created to protect democratic allies. So, I mean, what's going to happen with this? Are we completely abandoning our role here as the leader of democracy and turning towards dictator? It is pretty shocking. So, but that's for another video. So just keep plugging away. I know it's hard, folks. 8-week course is grueling. It's grueling for me to grade and to keep up with it all. But as always, email me and I'm happy to help you in any way I can. Thanks.